Just one thing before I start, which is, or two things. One measure of a society, I think, is the safe places it creates for writers and poets and painters and sculptors. And it's really an extraordinary thing that John is doing in resurrecting December and creating another safe place in this country for people to do this kind of stuff. And so I'm actually sort of super honored to be involved broadly and really honored that she thought this story was worth reading. This is true. As soon as it happened, I sat down and took a lot of notes because I knew at some point I'd want to write about it. It's mostly a conversation, and there's a couple times where I sort of leave the conversation while it's going on and tell you what was going on in the summary form. When I do that, I'm going to try to sort of indicate like this, which means I'm still talking even as I'm talking to you in this story that's happening. Okay. The time is 12:21 on a cold, sunny Tuesday afternoon in New York City. I'm in the financial district, having just left a publishing industry meeting, and I'm headed uptown to the office of the magazine I edit. Standing on a corner, I raise my left hand to hail a cab when I notice a woman next to me, right hand raised. She appears to be in her late 30s, with blonde hair and a cream-colored coat. She appears harried. A cab pulls up, and she turns her head to me, a look of confusion on her face. Because I'm not sure who got there first, and perhaps because she's attractive, I ask her where she's going as I open the cab door. Maybe we can share, I suggest. She smiles, or it might be a grimace, and says she's not sure where she's headed. 44th Street, she offers, a little flustered. Where is that? My office is on 34th Street, so I tell her to hop in. I'm on your way, I say. Once we're both seated, I start to give the driver instructions. 2 stops, please. 34th and Madison, then 44th and... I turn to my new friend, who scrambles to open her very large quilted leather purse and removes a folded piece of paper. It's a printout of an email. The from is from a man, I notice, with directions to a restaurant in Midtown. 44th and 5th, I tell the driver. Then I ask my companion if she lives in the city. No, she says, I'm from New Jersey. Oh, nice, I chirp, with my enthusiasm without cause. I love New Jersey. It's the Garden State. I am, it should be noted, what some people might call a hyper-engager. She smiles at my good cheer, so I ask what she's doing in New York. She looks at me for a second, then looks at the cab driver, then looks back at me again. She shrugs. Then, I'm here to have an affair. I'm actually taken aback, but I respond as if I'm anything but. Well, hello. She laughs. She laughs. My God, she says, noticeably more relaxed. I had to say that out loud. She's put away her paper and has both hands resting on the handbag in her lap. I can tell you, right? I don't know you, and we're not ever going to see each other again, right? Ma'am, you can tell me whatever you want. I'm just a guy in a cab. A cab merging onto a very crowded FDR drive. It's strange. I'm not normally this kind of person. It's hard keeping it inside. I hear you, and now I have many questions for you. She smiles. Fire away. So are you the adulteress or the infidel? I have no idea if this distinction is technically correct, but she seems to understand that by infidel I mean the other woman. Both, I think. We're both married, him and me, to different people. Gotcha. God, you must think I'm such a bad person. Do you think I'm a bad person? What I think is that I actually want to keep this conversation going. Well, actually, I think the sun is going to blow up in 3 billion years, and when that happens, everything we know of will have ceased to exist or matter. So the whole idea of bad or good is really a construct, although to be honest, I've never cheated on someone because I don't think I'd be very good at it, and I think it would feel wrong in the moment, even if I didn't believe it was wrong in a metaphysical sense. I read a lot of philosophy for poets books. So then you do think I'm a bad person. No, I think you're just a person, a human with an animal nature. And you know, nature favors adultery. What do you mean? Well, there's research to suggest. I launch into a 5-minute exegesis about a theory in evolutionary biology explaining why many animals and most people become super aroused at even the prospect of sex with someone other than their primary partner. I'm still talking at this point. Specifically, male sperm count triples and female vaginal lubrication increases similarly. The basic idea is that once one produces offspring with a primary mate, one instinctively wants to know what kind of gene pool warriors might be created with other sex partners. And so most species have evolved to make random, infrequent encounters with non-primary partners more likely to produce babies. I also read a lot of science for poets books. At least that's the thinking, I say to her. Wow, she says, I didn't know that. She looks at me a little strangely, and it occurs to me that my backseat lecturing might have slowed the momentum of what was shaping up to be the most interesting cab ride of my life. Well, it's just a theory I offer, but it makes sense. I'm guessing you're pretty aroused right now. I mean, at the prospect of going to lunch with this guy and having sex with him afterwards. She smiles, blushes. Yes. Is this your first time meeting up with him? No, second. How did it come about? Were you one day just like, I think I'm going to cheat on my husband today? No, not at all. I never thought about it. I married the wrong guy for the wrong reasons, and I had this sense that I was unhappy, but I wasn't thinking about cheating at all. I was traveling on a business trip a little while ago, and I met someone and got drunk, and we hooked up, and all of a sudden, I remembered what it was like to feel that way again. Was that guy this guy? I asked, pointing past the cab windshield as we moved very slowly on the north on the FDR Drive. No. Another guy before this guy. A one-night thing at a conference. She pauses. Not even the whole night. Oh, I say, a little nonplussed. I see, but I don't exactly. Is there a difference between a one-night stand and a part of a one-night stand? Yeah, she says, nodding to me in a sign of mutual understanding that isn't there. I realize I like feeling that, but I didn't want to end my marriage for a whole bunch of reasons. Meaning, it's not your kid's fault that you married too young and your husband is depressed and has let himself get fat and you don't want to have sex with him anymore. Yes, exactly. How did you know? Don't be so impressed. There's a reason Lifetime keeps making those movies. I think a lot of people feel the way you do. But not a lot of Lifetime watchers turn out to be cheaters, right? Well, you may not be a cheater forever. You may be someone who doesn't know how to fix her marriage and thinks this is the way to solve her problem, but you realize after 3 months that you don't like having sex with new guys so much after all, and you'll decide to talk to your husband. She's looking at me intently as if I have actual wisdom to impart. I'm not saying it's okay, I'm just saying you shouldn't brand yourself as something like being a cheater because that'll give you license to keep cheating. You may be making dumb decisions or even wrong decisions, but you should make sure they're not long-term decisions. What do you mean? Well, having sex with some other guy in Midtown today may just be a short-term decision. Getting herpes from him is definitely a long-term one. Oh, I know, we're careful. And he's a good guy. He doesn't want to end his marriage either. That's fine, and you may think he's a good guy, but to be honest, the only thing you know about him for sure is that he cheats on his wife. So what I'm saying is, if he says, let's take the helmet off this soldier, you should make sure you don't. She looks past me, thoughtful. Yeah. Do you ever think about talking to your husband? No, not really. Why not? I don't know. He knows we're not having sex, but I don't think he wants to face talking about the things we have to talk about. You know, there's this researcher in Seattle, I think he's at the University of Washington. He's supposedly an expert on marriages, and he's somehow able to determine which marriages will fail and which won't. And at this juncture, conversational momentum be damned, I embark on my second, at least, exegesis, this one about Neil Jacobson, a now deceased professor at the University of Washington, who developed revealing tests for married couples. He also interviewed them, looking to identify specific habits, behaviors, and interactions that would be predictive of their marital futures. It was all very interesting when I read about it in Scientific American Mind. And then it's back to me. And he said that all sorts of complicated marriages can work, marriages in which people argue or someone is jealous or whatever, but if he saw one particular trait, he knew a marriage was doomed. What's the trait? Disgust. Or maybe it's contempt. Yes, contempt. They're related, I think, but it's contempt, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, when one spouse has contempt or disgust for the other, this doctor said, the marriage can't last. I have disgust for my husband, she says flatly. Yeah, I kind of got that idea. We stopped talking for a bit, a break. We've covered a lot of ground for two people who don't know each other's names, but I have more questions. You never told me how you met this guy you're going to see. Oh, we met on a train, to the city. And you've had sex with him before? Yes. How many times? Once. How was it? Amazing. She blushes again, I think. And I am the only person who knows aside from you and him? No, you and my sister. At this point, the cab driver clears his throat. The woman and I look at each other, wide-eyed. Then I say, okay, you, me, her, and him. She laughs. What does your sister say? She thinks I'm awful. Her husband is very close to my husband. Aren't you afraid she's going to tell? No, she'd never do that. We're very close. All right, but I can easily imagine her being freaked out by something or other connected to all this, and then her husband asks her what's the matter, and she says nothing, but he keeps pressing, right? Are you telling me that's not a possibility? I've never been married, but isn't that what husbands and wives do to each other? You know, get it out of you? She lifts her head a little, or maybe just her eyes, thinking, I guess you're right. Yeah, I consider my advice again. Yeah, I'm thinking you better tell your sister it's over with, even if it's not. She nods slowly. Yeah, I guess so. We're getting close to my office. I really want to ask her for her email address so I can find out what happened. Then I think better of it. Then I think better of that. I want to know. Then I think that asking her would spoil the moment. Then I think we aren't really having a moment. Then I think, mind your own business, which is rare for me. The cab stops at 34th and Madison. So this is my corner, I say, reaching into my pocket. It's weird, I'm dying to know how all this is going to play out, but I guess I never will. The meter reads $19 and change. I hand her a $20 bill and ask for $5 back. She fishes some bills out of her wallet. Yeah, it's true, she says, handing me 5 singles. I'll always be the woman in the cab who's cheating on her husband. Yeah, I say as I step out of the cab. Even if I'm not anymore, she adds. I hunch down and peer into the back seat. I consider mentioning a famous thought experiment proposed by the physicist Edwin Schrödinger, involving a cat in a box that may or may not be dead, as a comment on the possibility of multiple concurrent realities in a world of limited information. Or so I've read. I think better of the idea. Yeah, I say with a forced smile. I hope everything works out. I straighten up and close the door. The time is 12:51 on a cold, sunny Tuesday afternoon in New York City.